All right. I think we're live.
Okay.
Can everybody see us? Can people see us? Are there humans out there? Comment if you can see us. I know we're not David. Are you getting comments, Julie?
Let's see here. Well, I am showing that it is playing on the site. So far, it looks good.
Okay, so while Julie's doing the tech stuff, I'll introduce myself. My name is Kristen Vanstrom. I actually work on David's team. And today we're going to be talking, obviously, about personal branding. And David's at a speaking engagement right now. And who better to have talk about personal branding than his branding and content girl. And Julie's just an all-around take care of all the stuff that I'm not good at kind of person.
I do everything else. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. We do have comments coming in that people can see us, so we're good. We're good.
Cool. Okay. Well, if you join this live stream, obviously you want a little bit more about personal branding. So I want to take a second to just talk about what personal branding is. So a lot of times I'll say branding, and when I say that, people think about it from a business perspective. So, what do people think of my business? Is the customer service good? Is the support good? Is the product good? When it comes to personal branding, it's like, what do people think of when they hear your name? So, for me, when they hear the name Kristen Vanstrom, what do people think of and what do I want people to think of? So your personal brand is, in my opinion, in the way that I work, those associations that people think of when they hear or see your name. So I just want to start this off. And for those of you just coming on, Dave is at a speaking engagement. I'm not Dave. Julie's not Dave. I do have kind of red hair like David, but it's actually fake red hair. So I'm sorry to disappoint you. We're talking about personal branding today, and I want to start off with a little personal branding exercise to get your guys' minds working and wrapped around this whole topic. So everyone, think of you, think of your name, and think of like one adjective, one word you want people to think of when they hear or read your name. So I'm going to hit Julie up first. Julie, what word do you think you want people to think of when they hear your name or they read your name online?
I can't really say a specific word, but I would have to say probably a phrase. It kind of goes with what I do is empowering women. That's really what I want to be known for, is empowering women and being a support system for women.
Okay, cool. And so for all you guys out there, if you're just coming in, think of one word that you want people to think about when they see or hear your name online. And if you can, just type it in the comments, because it's kind of cool to see what everybody has to say. And Julie's going to check the comments. I don't have the comments up here because I can't get distracted. I get distracted really easily.
I have them, don't worry.
So think of that one word, and like Julie said it's, she wants to be thought of for empowering women. So for her, that's a phrase. If you have a phrase, that's okay too. If you have an adjective, for me, I like to be thought of as eccentric, and I hope that maybe I'm portraying that in the way I look right now. What do you want people to think of when they hear your name or they see your name online? And before you can really delve any further into personal branding, you have to be able to answer that question. Because if you don't know what you want to be associated with, you don't know what kind of content to create. So, for example, if I didn't want to be associated with, marketing or personal branding or social media management, I might just post a bunch of pictures of my dog. And people will associate me with being a dog lover, but maybe nothing else. So in my business and my career, 10 pictures of my dog every day are only going to get me so far. So for Julie, you want to be known for like female empowerment. What are things that you can be posting on your blog, on your social media that are going to help back up that phrase?
So I like to post like powerful women quotes. I think you've probably seen some of the stuff that I post.
Yeah.
It's always positive and it's always uplifting and it's always geared towards, just women in general and being strong, independent women. That's what I like to post. And that's what you'll see me posting on Facebook, on Instagram. You don't see me posting or airing my dirty laundry. Yes, I do show like family stuff, but I do like to keep it to the, positive vibes, send those out every single time that I'm online.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point that you just made, Julie. You said the family stuff. And another thing that I've heard about personal branding is sometimes when you're working on your business, in your business, people get so caught up in the professional aspect of your personal brand that they forget to be a real person. So, yes, you do want to be known for female empowerment, Julie, but like, guess what? You also have a family. Guess what? You also have interests and hobbies, and that makes you a real person. So to wrap it back around, if you're just hopping on this right now, I said, for your personal brand, what word or phrase do you want people to think of when they hear or see your name online? And Julie said female empowerment. And so taking that one step further and talking about the kind of content you're creating online, your social media posts, your blog posts, your videos, every piece of content that you create should support that word. So for example, if I want to be thought of as, say my word's eccentric, which that's my word for right now, it may change. Things change with me. If I want to be thought of as eccentric online or spontaneous, wild, crazy, fun, if I hopped on this live stream right now and I didn't have any makeup on and my hair was like a mess and I was wearing a sweatshirt and pajamas and I wasn't energetic and passionate about what I was talking about, I'm not really supporting the version of myself that I want to portray, right, Julie?
Right. I might think of you as the bum, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So, when it comes to the brand you're portraying online, your personal brand, make sure everything that you're doing is representative of that person. Make sure everything that you're doing supports, that feeling or that phrase or that adjective. And that goes from simple stuff. That goes from like a tweet. If I tweet something simple, if I post a Facebook status, it applies to that, all the way down to the really long form, nitty gritty, granular stuff. A long blog post, a long video, a live stream, something that's a little bit more dense. You want to take that word, whatever word it is that you've picked, and you want that word to be like the overarching theme of all the content that you create. Does that make sense, Julie? Am I making sense?
It makes total sense to me. I'm absolutely on board with that, 100%.
Okay, cool. Everyone who's listening, if you can hop in the comments and be like, yes, that makes sense, or no, I'm so confused. Just let us know, because we want this to be valuable for you. If you're just hopping on, Dave's at a speaking engagement today. We are here in his place. Julie and I both work on his team. I'm his personal branding, content, social media person. And Julie is everything else. The stuff that overwhelms me that I can't handle, which is a lot of things. That's what Julie does.
So we work well together.
So for personal branding, take that word, think of that word, and ask yourself, how can I support that? So now when it also comes to your personal brand, you want to, and this, we're going to start getting into the 7 things that we're going to talk about today. You want to make sure that that word or that phrase or those themes you're trying to portray, that those are authentic. Okay. So yes, I may want to be thought of as like eccentric online when you look up my name, when you see my content, but is that who I really am? Am I truly eccentric, or am I an introvert really and I'm trying to be somebody that I'm not? And if you get to know me in my personal life, you'll realize that I am eccentric, I am spontaneous, I am a little crazy and fun. So be authentic in the theme that you choose for your content, and the adjectives you choose to support your personal brand. Be authentic. And a lot of times when we hear Dave talk about the word authenticity, it's talked about in a way that's, what do people think of me? Do people think I'm being authentic? Are people believing what I'm saying? Are people feeling that I'm being transparent? Do they trust me? And that part of authenticity is obviously very important, because when it comes to building a business and building your name online, if people think you're lying, good luck. Good luck getting anywhere.
No, that's so true. It's that some people feel like not being authentic or maybe withholding things that either have happened to them in the past or who they are is a lot better than just coming out and being authentic. It's not the case. Like, Dave talks openly about his drug problems from the past and what he's gone through, and that just makes him more real and he resonates with people better. So if you have a past and you've had something happen to you where you've gone through a struggle and you've overcome it, talk about it. Don't be afraid to share your story, because that is what's going to attract people to you, is that authenticity, that realness, I guess you could say. Those are the things that people gravitate towards, not just some, nice smile, flashy guy. Here's a picture of my big fat check from the, just be real.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, Julie, because at the end of the day, if you're not being real, that's going to come across. And so, so rule number one to the, these 7 personal branding must-haves is rule number 1 is be authentic, and be authentic from a third party perspective. You want people to look at you and understand you're being authentic. But another part of authenticity too is, am I okay with the person I'm portraying? Does this feel real to me? Do I feel like I'm living a lie? Do I feel like I'm being honest in the content I'm creating and the message that I'm spreading? Because authenticity is a twofold thing. By telling your real story, like Julie said, by Dave telling his real story, of course, people are more receptive to that because he's relatable and he's a real guy. But guess what? Dave can also lay his head down on a pillow at night and be like, I'm being real and I'm okay with being me 100%, because everything I'm doing is who David Sharp is. So obviously the number 1 trick to personal branding, the first trick, is being authentic. But be authentic for other people, but also be authentic for yourself. Do you have anything to add to that, Julie?
I think that's great. If you guys are watching right now and you're wondering what these 7 steps or 7 must-haves are, right below this video, if you're on legendary.com/TV, the presentation, you can download it and go ahead and follow along with us. That way, if you are trying to take notes and are missing what we're saying, it's right there for you guys, so you guys can keep up with what we're doing.
Yeah, cool. And every time, by the way, guys, I ask Julie what she thinks, I'm totally putting her on the spot.
Hey, I am okay with being put on the spot. I work well under that kind of pressure. No big deal.
Good. Okay. So number 1, be authentic. Be authentic. Be able to lay your head down on a pillow at night and say, my message that I'm spreading is real. I'm okay with that. If someone challenged me on my message, I could back it up. Julie, you said female empowerment is important to you in your brand. If I challenged you on that, I'm sure you could back it up with a lot of passionate statements and thoughts and feelings. If I was like, Julie, do you really believe in this? You could back it up. So make sure your personal brand is authentic in a way that you can back it up, and you're passionate about backing it up, and you're passionate about backing your story up and being like, whoa, wait a second. This is me. This is who I am, and you have stake in it. It's like your little baby. So that's number 1, be authentic. Number 2, all of your content that you do online, it shouldn't read like a sales pitch or a marketing pitch, right? Because you might think like you're being tricky and sneaky by trying to write content that's
but you're not.
Guess what? Only 24 hours left for this deal. It's changed my life, blah, 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 blah. You might think you're using phrases that are triggering people to take action, but if you're trying way too hard to sell something or to sell yourself, even if you're trying too hard, people will sense that. Instead, focus on building a relationship through your content, building a real, authentic brand. Don't write content. And when I say content, I'm talking about social media posts. I'm talking about videos. I'm talking about blog posts. I'm talking about live streams. I'm talking even about photos that you take. Let your content read like you. Let your content read like you. Don't let your content read like a sales pitch or a marketing pitch. How would you guys feel if you were watching this live stream and it felt really scripted? You saw me my eyes going back and forth on my laptop, like I was reading a script, and I was hesitating because it felt kind of awkward and weird. And I was actually reading words that Julie wrote for me to read. You guys would be able to sense that. And that would read kind of like a marketing pitch or a sales pitch. It wouldn't feel real. So in all the content that you're creating for your personal brand, make sure it reads like you and it doesn't read like a marketing or a sales pitch, because people are wise to that. People can sense that. And, in working with Dave, every time that I've written him content that maybe was not as real or, not as authentic, and it read more like a marketing or a sales pitch, it doesn't do well, because people who follow Dave know Dave, and they know they know what he's passionate about. They know what he's trying to do. They know his purpose, his message, and his story. And every time something reads like a sales pitch, people are like, oh yeah, whatever.
It doesn't get nearly as much engagement as something that's more real from him, that's less salesy, I guess you could say.
Yeah, definitely. And like, Julie, do you have anything to add about that in your personal experience too, with making content, like a piece of content that maybe took off for you and something that didn't because of this?
Right. And maybe some things that I've seen, not only recently, but some things that I have seen, or maybe even I've done in the past, which is how many of you out there have like the hundreds of friend requests, or maybe not, or maybe just, a handful of friend requests, and it looks like spam? And when you go onto their page, all you see is check out my latest deal, click this link, and you see that kind of stuff going on. I immediately just delete the friend request and block them. Whether they are a real person or not, that's not the kind of stuff that I want to see on my newsfeed. I want to see real content from fellow marketers and fellow friends that is relevant to what I'm trying to do, which is to be authentic, and to create great, engaging content. So I avoid actually creating relationships with people like that, because I don't really want to see it. Oh, there's maybe some people out there like, oh, you should show them the way and you should take them under your wing. That's just not me. That, I just don't have time for it. I've got other things that I focus on. But make sure that when you're posting content on your personal, either Facebook page or your business Facebook page or any social media page, that you stay away from doing stuff like that on a consistent basis. Like, your entire profile should not be filled with, here's my link, here's my link, here's my link, or check out this offer, check out this offer, check out this offer, because it comes across as fake. You don't build real relationships with you. I guarantee that if you were to look at another person's profile and see that you would be less likely to buy from them than if you were to see somebody like Dave, who just has real value, real content, and he could be selling the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And when you were saying that, it like inspired a thought. You were saying, you see people posting offers and products and, buy this, click here, sign up. And you were saying that turns you off. And I guess to add to that, I think, when you're working, on your business, let your lifestyle speak for you. Let your lifestyle speak for your success. If people see photos of you enjoying time with your family, or, traveling, with your friends, or, enjoying a life that not everyone gets to enjoy, your lifestyle right there speaks for your success. And you'll have people messaging you and be like, hey, like, what do you got going on? Like, how are you able to travel so much? Like, how do you stay with your kids all the time? Like, that right there, I'm pointing because I'm getting excited. That right there is what you want. That's what you want, because that means that your personal brand is really doing work. Your personal brand is doing work for you. So I guess this is like, to the second point we made, don't let your content be too much of a sales pitch or a marketing pitch. And like, to add to that, let your lifestyle, speak to your success. The content that you put up on social media, let that speak for you. Don't push what you have onto other people. Post photos of you hanging out with your family, or whatever you feel like your business or your career is affording you to do. Whatever you feel like. I mean, for me in my career right now, my career has afforded me to live in a really cool penthouse.
Which is super clean right now.
Which is super clean because I cleaned it before this. Not like it even matters because you can't see it. But, so for me, I post a lot of pictures of like my penthouse and like the decor I'm doing and the fun stuff I'm doing. And my lifestyle speaks to my success. So, I'll have people messaging me and being like, hey, like, what do you got going on? Like, how are you single and, 25 years old and you can afford to live in this place? Like, let your lifestyle speak for your success. Whatever that looks like, let your lifestyle speak for your success. So that's like a little little bullet point to that. Do you have anything to add to that, Julie? Or sorry.
No, I absolutely agree. Stay away from the sales pitch crap and just be real and show us, your family and what you do on a daily basis and have fun. That's really what it's all about.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that goes to like even your trials and your tribulations too. I mean, if there's a day where you're trying to record a video, for your YouTube channel and it just sucks, like, which like, I'm not a video person. So this is a really big deal that I'm doing this right now. But so like, if you're trying to record a video and it sucks, like be authentic, like post about it, be like, dude, I'm having such a hard time right now coming up with like, some content for this video or a topic, or like, I really want to talk about, how to reach out to people on Facebook to join my business. But like, I can't come up with like good ideas. Like, can you guys help me out? Be authentic in that. You don't have to be, when you have a personal brand that you're really trying to grow, and that personal brand is kind of like umbrellaing your business, you don't have to be perfect all the time. You don't have to be like, everything I create is so masterful and beautiful and so wise and so accurate, and you are welcome. Like, that doesn't have to be it.
I mean, I thought your stuff was.
Like, you have to like sometimes show the nitty gritty, show the dirty, show, not all the time, but don't air out your dirty laundry, but be open to feedback, be open to ideas. If you're struggling with something in your business, in your personal life, whatever it is, as long as you're not being a negative Nancy, be open to feedback and ideas. So rolling right into number 3, or else I'll talk about this one forever because I'm really like passionate about the authenticity portion. Number 3, a must-have for personal branding is be accessible. Okay, we have this thing in our society where everybody wants to pretend like they're a celebrity. You're not.
I love how you got really close to the camera to say that. That was like emphasizing.
You're not a celebrity. You are not an untouchable, okay? Be accessible to the people who are making an effort to reach out to you for help, for advice, for feedback. Be accessible to those people because, don't put yourself up on a pedestal. Even with Dave does not put himself up on a pedestal. Dave, whenever he has a free moment and I see him do it, responds to his private messages, replies to comments on Facebook. He's accessible. He's not putting himself up on a pedestal. He's not making himself so far out of reach that it seems like his success is unachievable. So get it out of your head. And maybe you're watching this right now and you are so perfect that like this is not you, but probably not. So be accessible. Be accessible to the people who want help from you, the people who are interested about joining your business. Maybe you have somebody who's sending you a private message on Facebook that is not quite ready to like seal the deal and commit. They're not quite ready to like invest yet, but they're just curious. They send you that message and they're like, hey, like, how do you do it? Like, how do you do all this? Like, how do you spend so much time with your family? Be accessible. Tell them, but don't make it, once again, don't make it a sales pitch. Don't make it a marketing pitch. Be like, I have a really awesome opportunity, a really cool project I've been working on the past couple years that has changed my life and has allowed me to spend time with my family, to cook breakfast for my kids, to, take my family on vacations. And let people ask you. Let people ask you what it is that you're doing. Does that make sense, Julie?
Yes, absolutely. And I love how you pointed out that Dave is really accessible when it comes to a lot of things. You'd be surprised to know that yes, he does hop on and he does respond to emails. When he catches them. Usually Kristen or I catch things before he does. So, we're quick to respond if it's like basic customer support stuff or, hey, how do I access this? I mean, you're typically going to get myself or Kristen if it's through Facebook. But for some things that are more personal, like when people email him telling, him about their struggles or asking him questions about what he's going through, he's actually on there and he's actually responding. He does hop on the phone with people as well. So he hasn't like completely, cut himself off from everybody else. It would be very easy for him to have Kristen and myself and everybody else who works for him and with him take on all the responsibility of communication for him, and he could just sit back and probably kick up his feet and collect a paycheck. but his business will not be sustained that way. And it will eventually come around that people are like, well, hey, I'm never actually talking to Dave. Like, does Dave actually exist, or is he just this fake, person that's that's online? So just keep that in mind. Even if you're just starting out, be accessible. Even if you've been in the game for 10 years, be accessible.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Julie. And to add to that, I think, Dave being accessible makes us want to work with him and for him. Because Dave doesn't put himself up on a pedestal, it allows us to really like support him and work underneath him. Because if you're putting yourself up so high that like you're untouchable and unreachable, people can't help you either. Like people
Right.
can help you. There can't be a community built around you because you're so far out of reach that you borderline don't exist. So when you are accessible, you create that kind of loyalty for your personal brand. You have people that are like taken aback, like, whoa, Dave responded to my message. Julie responded. Kristen responded. Jane out there listening, maybe there's a Jane. Jane responded to my message, and they feel that sense of loyalty to you. And that's a huge part of a successful personal brand. People who have personal brands online, like Dave, who have a big following, are people who have developed a sense of loyalty from their followers. Their followers feel loyal to them through the thick and the thin, through their successes and through their failures. Because they were accessible, they created that sense of loyalty. And ultimately, they have a ride or die kind of a community. And that's what you want in your business. If you have a ride or die community, you are like borderline set for life, because as long as you're authentic in what you're doing, you can screw up. You can have some mistakes and failures here and there, and people will still support you because they appreciate that you were accessible to them during their screw ups. Does that make sense, Julie?
Totally makes sense to me.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So rule number 4 is, it's kind of in the be accessible field, and it's, respond whenever possible. So in addition to being accessible, don't make somebody wait 4 days. If somebody messages you, private messages you, and they're like, hey, what do you have going on? Like, I see you, it looks like you have this cool opportunity. Like, can you tell me more? Don't make them wait 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, because it goes back to this idea. You're not a celebrity. No one here is a celebrity. David doesn't feel like he's a celebrity and doesn't want to act like he's a celebrity. And that's why he has such a loyal following. So respond whenever possible. Don't try and be so perfect in your responding that you put it off. So, let's say you're like on the subway or something. Let's say you live in a big city. I don't. Let's say you do.
Okay.
And let's say you're on the subway and you're scrolling through and you're like, whoa, dude, I just got a message from this girl, and she's wondering what I do for a living, what I do for work. Initially in my first days of working on my business, I would put something like that off and be like, I need to take time to think out the right response and how I can sell her on my services. And I don't want to respond just from my phone because that might look like tacky and informal. And now I'm at a place, and you can probably agree with me, Julie, that people want that instant response whenever possible. They don't want some stuffy drafted up email or message, that looks like it was just copy and pasted. They want someone who's just being like, yo, hey, I got your message. I'd love to talk. Can you hop on the phone right now? People eat that stuff up. Do you?
Right. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And when you're saying, don't take the time to sit there and try to, craft some lengthy response, that goes hand in hand with, keeping your content, not sales pitchy. Keep your response is the same way. So you don't want to respond in a way that makes somebody feel like they're being sold to. So really, you're just trying to create a relationship with somebody. And would you immediately go and try to sell somebody the first time you meet them face to face? Probably not. You would probably try to get to know them. If you want to create a long-lasting relationship, you would probably want to try to get to know them first, see what their tics are, see what they're struggling with, and then find a solution for them. So make sure, keep the sales pitch out of it. Just really be authentic.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And also too, when you respond to those things, if you get a private message on Facebook, and I keep using this example, but it is a relevant example because we do live in a Facebook world. If you get a message on Facebook and you're sitting on the subway, whatever, and you respond right away, and you're very casual and you're very open. First of all, people appreciate that instant response. It makes them feel like somebody, and at the end of the day, like, this is personal branding, this is life. Everybody wants to feel like somebody. Everybody wants to feel understood. Everybody wants to feel like they're important and they can do what you are doing. So when you take time to give that instant response, you're being like, hey, you know what? I think you deserve this too. You deserve my time. You deserve, this opportunity. And when you do something like that, once again, it builds loyalty and it helps you really cultivate that community that's going to back you up and that's going to support you and grow with you too. This isn't just a one-sided thing. This isn't just about building a loyal community and then like sitting back in your like throne, although I wish I had a throne just because I think it would be fun. But sitting back in
they would fit your personality.
Sitting back in your throne and being like, my people, go do my work. It's not about that. It's also about, making those connections and building those relationships and building that loyal community or that tribe so those people can grow with you too. And then they can start building their own little community, right? Like, Dave has been a huge mentor to me. I went to school for marketing and I thought I knew marketing, right? But working with Dave has really opened my eyes to so much simple stuff that I've been missing in my life. And so, I'm a loyal follower of Dave and I'm part of his community, but guess what? Like, because he's given me the motivation and like the confidence to kind of learn from what he's doing, I can build my own little community of maybe crazy girls like me, that want to have nice things and that are okay being smart. And that's all because someone like Dave took the time to reach out and be accessible to me. Boom. How do you feel about that, Julie?
Love it. I love it.
Okay, good. Okay, number 5 in our personal branding must-haves. And this is kind of great because these are all flowing into each other. So this is really, I feel really lucky that this is happening right now.
Yeah, they really go hand in hand. Like, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, you really can't. So number 5, reciprocate the attention and share the spotlight. And this goes back to the overarching theme of you are not a celebrity. Don't put yourself up on a pedestal. Be okay reciprocating attention. So, let's say, you work in like the home-based business and you're experiencing awesome success, right? Like, let's say like you have got this covered. You like know what you're doing, right? And you're living a good life. What do? Do you just sit there and you ride on your success forever? You can, that's cool. But like, what would make your personal brand even stronger and your community more loyal and larger and bigger is sharing that spotlight, and going up to, a team member or, sometimes maybe even someone who you kind of have a little like back of your mind competition with, being the bigger person and being like, on social media, on your blog, on a video, whatever, being like, hey, I want to give so-and-so a shout out because they are killing it right now. Like, they taught me this, like, or they're doing these kind of videos or these kind of social media posts that like totally opened my mind to a new idea. And I'm so grateful for them. So reciprocate that attention, share the spotlight a little bit, because when you do that, first of all, it's an act of confidence, right? Like, if I'm okay sharing the spotlight, that shows that I'm also confident in who I am. And no matter how many people get under this spotlight, there's like little lights back there that kind of like spotlights. That's funny. No matter how many people, get under that spotlight with me, it's not going to change who I am. Okay, so share the spotlight. Take time on social media to shout out a team member, to shout out a mentor or someone that you're mentoring, or even a friend or a family member. That's how you build a strong personal brand, because you show people that it's not all about you. People sense selfish intentions very, very, very quickly. So share that spotlight. Give a shout out to somebody. Give a shout out to somebody's idea or somebody's work. Like, so-and-so has gotten this many views on his YouTube videos. Like, that's sick. That's so awesome. I wish I could be more like that. I want to learn from him and what he's doing. So by doing that, obviously, like I said, you show that you're confident and you create a loyalty, but also you open up a conversation. And that's also another really awesome point. And growing your personal brand, if you can get other fellow industry leaders to engage with you, that builds your authority, that strengthens your engagement. You start a conversation, it really heightens that community feel. So, like say, for example, Julie, if you post something that's like female empowerment, you post a really cool quote, and it really inspires me. And on my Facebook or my Instagram or whatever outlet I choose, I'm like, hey, guys, like, go check out this page. Like, this girl is killing it. Like, she just opened my eyes, today and made me wake up feeling really good about myself. Julie, are you going to ignore that completely? Like, what are you going to do if I do that?
I'm going to be like, hell yeah. And I'm probably going to like reciprocate the love, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to reciprocate, and you're going to feel a sense, you're not even going to know it, but you're going to feel a sense of loyalty to my crazy face because yeah. I'm okay sharing the spotlight and being like, girl, you're like killing it. You're doing an amazing job. So it's a win-win for everybody. My community sees what Julie's doing and they follow Julie and they start building a loyalty for Julie. Julie's community sees that I was like woman enough to be like, dang, this girl is like slaying it right now. And they develop a sense of loyalty in me because there's enough, and this is like a huge thing, like in network marketing, in marketing, in business, in life, like there's enough for everybody. There is enough for everybody. How do you feel about that, Julie?
Yes, I think that a lot of people have that feeling that there's not, and there's like a lack, and there's like a lack of recognition. So they hold it all for themselves, and they're afraid to recognize others. And it's just like, stop, to edify each other. Feel free, drop the ego that you may or may not have. Typically, you may have. Drop that ego and be like, hey, let's be humble, and be like, hey, so-and-so is kicking ass over here, or they're killing it. Or, hey, this person on my team did a really great job, or, they're doing better than me, whatever it is. But just be humble enough and show some humility and be like, hey, somebody out there is doing a great job,
Yeah, exactly. It's, whether you believe in karma or not, it's just something like that will strengthen your personal brand. It will at the end of the day. Like, and if it's something, let's say you tend to be a little bit more of a jealous person. Some of us do struggle with that. In the past, I have struggled with that. I tend to like kind of instantly be a little more jealous, and I'm like, whoa, chill out. Don't be jealous. Like, there's enough room for everybody. If you tend to be a little bit more of a jealous person, schedule time out to reciprocate attention, if that makes sense. Let's say, every Thursday, you're like, you know what, every Thursday on my social media, on my blog, I'm going to give a shout out to like someone who's hustling it on my team or in my industry. And when you schedule it out that way, it starts to become natural, and you start to work that jealousy out of your system, because we're all human. We're going to have envy. Like I'm going to have envy of Julie's really perfect curls right now because my hair does not curl. That's why. You're going to be jealous. It's okay. You're human. You're going to be jealous. But the strong people and the leaders and the people who make it are the people who step outside of that jealousy and take time, even if they have to schedule it, take time to give other people a shout out. So if it's something you struggle with, don't wait for it to come naturally. Make an effort, put it in your schedule. And every Thursday, every Friday, whenever it is, give somebody else a shout out. And the more you do that, the more natural it's going to become. And before you know it, jealousy is going to be an unnatural instinct for you. And you'll have a hard time even feeling jealous of other people anymore.
Right. It will end up becoming a habit when you do it so many times. It's just automatically to where you won't actually have to schedule it. It'll just be natural. Mm-hmm. You want to do it on your own.
Exactly. So number 6 in our personal branding wonderland. And for those of you who have hopped on and you're confused as to what you're seeing here right now, Julie, that's Julie, the one I'm pointing to. Like,
yeah, they can't see who you're pointing to, but
that's Julie. I'm Kristen. We both work on Dave's team, work for Dave, with Dave. Dave's cool. Dave's awesome. And we're really happy that he's giving us this opportunity to talk to you guys right now. He's at a speaking engagement. I'm kind of his personal branding content girl. Julie is his do everything else because I can't girl. I've said that joke a few times. I still think it's funny.
It's kind of true.
It's very true. Julie set up this live stream. I was just told to show up because she knows the technical things I can't do. So in our personal branding journey that we're on right now, we're talking about 7 must-haves for, just building like a killer personal brand. And we're on number 6 right now. And number 6 is one that's like, I'm so passionate about, because if you don't get number 6, like you're going to have a lot harder time really taking off in your business. Find your niche. Ooh, find your niche. Okay. Like
people struggle with that one.
Oh, that one's so killer.
Find your niche. So do you have like tips and tricks on how people can do that?
Yes, definitely. Okay, so let me give you a few examples. First of all, like let's say, you're writing a piece of content and you're really passionate about blogging, right? You're really like, you love blogging. You're like a blogger 101. You love blogging and you want to write a blog post about blogging, and how to blog. That's cool, right? That's really cool. But I feel like if you're really good at finding your niche, you can get more granular than that, okay? So like, look at yourself, look at who you are. Let's say you're a stay-at-home mom and you have 4 children and you're like, you have like puke on your shirt. I'm like kidless, by the way, so I feel like I'm doing a really good job of kids. But you have like puke on your shirt. There's like Cheerios on the floor. You always feel like you're running behind, and coffee eventually starts to wear off and it doesn't work anymore. But for some reason, you're still really passionate about blogging and you make it work. Instead of writing a post, a social media post, a video, whatever, about blogging, get more granular. How can you blog as a stay-at-home mom with a crap ton of kids? Like how can you make that work? That's your niche. You're a stay-at-home mom blogger. That's your niche. So if you're looking for your niche, look at yourself in the mirror and say, what am I besides just a blogger, besides just a network marketer, besides just, anything, how do I get more specific in that? So Julie, I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you feel like your niche is, your community is, besides just being a marketer or a really cool person?
Actually, so my niche, since we talked about female empowerment earlier, it is actually, I'm going to give you like my actual avatar, which is, she is, she was, it's kind of changing now. She's single. She is, in the business field or home-based business area. So she's familiar with that. She's typically between the age of 25 to 35. And she's, just looking for ways to grow her home business. That is actually my niche. So I actually target people that are women around my age that are currently in business and that are looking to, grow their own businesses.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the more specific you can get with your niche, the better. I like how Julie was like, she's giving like age ranges, she's giving lifestyle. Like the more specific that you can get when you're finding your niche. And your niche, just to be clear, your niche is like your avenue, like your focus, the path that you're going down. Like Julie, when she creates content, might be going down like 20 to 30 something home-based business, single, stay-at-home mom avenue, right? And that's what she's going to focus on. She's going to speak from that voice and that perspective. That is not the avenue I'm going to go down because Julie is pregnant. I am not.
Right. So you would have a much harder time relating to somebody like that than I would.
Yeah, I'm going to go down, maybe the path of like, grew up poor and a self-sufficient queen. I'm just kidding.
Hey, that's yours. That's cool.
Penthouse princess, penthouse princess street, that's my avenue. So when we talk about finding your niche, don't let these kind of like, intermediate level marketing words trip you up. All your niches is just like your street, your path, your avenue, and getting as granular as possible as you can. Granular as possible as you can. I think that's right. Sounds
good to me.
With your personal brand. So, I know Julie, you asked for examples, and I mentioned, instead of writing just instead of recording a video about blogging and how you blog, get more specific. How do you blog when you have like a toddler screaming in your ear, a newborn baby like on your boob, sorry, or for men, a newborn baby like you're burping after it's been on a boob or something, like how are you blogging during all that? That's your niche right there. Am I making sense, Julie, or am I just sounding crazy?
Yes, I think you're making sense. Perfectly for me. I know people struggle with finding their niche because they're like, I don't know what to target. And I think you said it right when you said, take a look in the mirror and, look at yourself and, identify who you are and what your surroundings are and, your lifestyle. And that's really your niche, or that's a good place to get started. It does not mean that is your niche from here on out. That doesn't mean that you can't change. It doesn't mean you can't be a female who decides to target, men. I mean, maybe you relate to men really well. But to get started and make it as simple as possible, really go after who you are and what you're currently doing. And that makes it easier. It really does.
Yes, and I love how you said that. I was just thinking that. Go after who you are, and then see what happens. See what kind of people gravitate towards you. Are they people like yourself? Are they completely different people? I know I go after in my content I create, I go after women like myself, and for some reason I attract like members of like the LGBTQ community, like fabulous gay men, like they love me for some reason. So like, it's not always going to be you looking in a mirror and like you're going to only be people like you. That's a great place to start. Like you said, I love you made that point. But, after you've been creating social media content for a while, or videos or blog posts or whatever you're making, go back and do a little research and do a little evaluation and be like, what kind of people are commenting on this stuff? Do a little stalking on the internet. I love stalking. Okay. Like if there, if you have like this post you made, let's say you made this, this post, whatever it's about, and it got like 50 likes, click through and be like, who are these people that are liking it? Like, what do they do for a living? Are they married? Are they single? What do they look like? Do a little like Facebook stalking. It's totally fine.
Do a little legal stalking.
Legal stalking.
Legal stalking.
Stalking. Okay, so find your niche, and that's that's something that we can also to have a separate conversation on a separate day. That's a really big topic, but just to keep it very simple, I think it's kind of like a look in the mirror kind of a thing. Do you think so, Julie?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the easiest place to get started, the simplest way.
Okay, cool. And for our last little personal branding trick, I'm referring to our little presentation here because I get really passionate and really like caught up, and I just need to stay on track. I told Julie before we started doing this, I was like, you got to really keep me in check because I could go on for 3 hours, and it's just, before you know it, I'll be making jokes. Like I'll like have like a martini, and it'll be weird.
And I'll have a virgin daiquiri. I don't know.
So for the last thing in the personal branding must-haves, everyone like really take some time and to hear the words I'm saying and ask yourself this question. Look at yourself in the mirror right now or wherever you want to look at yourself and ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? What is my legacy? How will I leave a legend? And this goes back to Dave's brand, legendary marketer. How will I be legendary in the life that I'm living, in the content that I'm creating, in the conversations I'm having, whether these conversations are with family, friends, prospects, team members? How am I creating a legend? What am I going to be known for? And this is definitely a life question too. I mean, you hear this all the time, when you die, what do you want people saying about you? Mm-hmm. Like, do you want people saying like, dang, like that girl was so focused on like, hustling and making money, but every time I try to ask her advice or ask her help, she ignored me. She didn't respond to my messages. She seemed really fake. She didn't seem authentic. She seemed very staged. She seemed very self-centered. She could never share the spotlight. You see how this is kind of all coming back around, guys, is, the 6 steps we talked about before are leading up to this number 7 is what do you want to be known for? What is your legend? And if you can follow those steps, if you can be authentic, if you can be accessible, if you can share the spotlight, if you can find your niche, then what you're known for is going to be something that will like get really emotional when I'm talking about this stuff. It's something that like you can lay your head down at night and be like, I'm known for amazing things. I'm doing amazing things. The legacy that I'm writing, my legend, you know, I'm being legendary. You know, people are going to look at my life that I'm living, and they're going to look to me as a role model, because here's something people don't, you know, sometimes people don't understand is you don't have to make it first before you can be a role model. You know, like in my lowest moments, in Dave's lowest moments, Julie, I'm sure in your lowest moments, people are still watching you. They're watching what you're doing. They're watching how you're reacting to your struggle. And that is a legacy in itself. You know, Dave's legacy was created the day that he like dropped that needle. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the day that he was handed his first check. That was freaking cool, right? But like, it was created the day that he made a decision to be a better person. So don't feel like, you know, for your personal brand, for your life, don't feel like, you know, you can only create killer content and put yourself out there on social media and really try in your business when you've made it. You know, like the day that I wake up rich is the day I'm going to actually start to try, because being a rich bitch is going to be my legacy. Sorry, got my mouth got a little.
You're okay.
You know, that's not the case. You know, because when I die someday, you know, I don't want people to just look at me and be like, well, she had a lot of money. Okay, so does everybody else, you know? So personal branding, just to wrap this up, personal branding is so important because it is your legacy. You know, you want to be legendary. You want to have a personal brand that transcends generations. You know, think of like historical icons or people you look up to in your business or in your life. You know, these aren't people that are just modern and current and people who are just experiencing success right now. You know, all of these icons we look up to are people who overcame struggle and who were authentic and who shared the spotlight and who were accessible. And we look up to them even in their struggle. We were looking up to them because they were taking time to make a change and make a difference and follow a different path. So for number 7 for personal branding, and, you know, just, I guess, marinate on this for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week, for the rest of your life, really, because this is a question that you'll never really fully answer and you'll always be trying to answer, and it's fun, is what do you want to be known for?
That's a deep one. And it kind of goes hand in hand is, did I matter? That's another question you can ask yourself is, you know, at the end of the day and end of the week, end of the year, did what I do matter? You know, did my life matter? Did I bring some value to somebody's life or to society or to the world?
Yes, absolutely. Woo! You guys probably didn't think we were going to blow your minds in 60 minutes, but actually like 55, but we did. Julie, I guess I'll let you wrap up. I'm Kristen Vanstrom. I do Dave's branding, his social media, his content management, all that fun stuff. And we're on here right now because Dave had a speaking engagement today, and we are so grateful that he allowed us to share our wisdom. One of my biggest fears is video, and so like I feel like maybe he knew that, and that's why he asked me to do this, and I knew I couldn't say no to it. So I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful for everyone who, you know, listened to me ramble and tell some jokes and hopefully offer some valuable advice over the last 60 minutes. And then I guess, Julie, if you want to tell them where they can get all their fun goodie stuff.
Yes. So thank you for, of course, being on here with us. I mean, we do have viewers. We could definitely see that on the Hangout page. We appreciate the fact that you're here, even though you don't get to see Dave's bright, smiling, beautiful face. You get to see ours. And if you can, in the comments, I know, you know, there's still some more people on here. In the comments, just comment how well Kristen did, because, you know, Kristen, I'm going to be honest, I had no idea that you struggle with video, because you didn't. I think you did fantastic. So if you guys think she did fantastic, please give her some love, show her some love out there. And if you guys haven't already, or you missed the section where we talked about it, right below this video, if you are on legendarymarketer.com/TV, right below it is going to be a button to where you can download the presentation that we just talked about. So it has those 7, though I guess you call them the 7 must-haves to kind of pimp out your social brand, pimp out your online profile and all that good, your online presence, I guess you could say would be the better term. But make sure you get that, download it, and use it. Just use those 7 going forward. And trust me, it'll have a huge impact on your engagement online with other people, as well as just edify yourself more and give yourself more recognition. So we really appreciate you guys being here, and we actually kept it under an hour. So we didn't, keep you guys on here too long. And like I said, if you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, leave them down in the comment section, and we will try to respond as quickly as possible.
Can I finish with one little quote that I love to live by?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I just want to say this, and this is the quote that I live by, and this is a quote that you guys should live by too. I kind of just made it up in my own head one day, but take some time to really let this marinate. Better is your only option. Better is your only option. Every day you can get better. So better is your only option. Okay, thank you guys.
I love it. On that note, we're out.